26 August 2025, I saw in a vision where Hakainde Hichilema was replaced by Kabesha Muliro, and his name was changed to Terror Everywhere. That have been actually even saying violence everywhere. So in this matter that I want to explore today, I want us to understand that prophecy speaks in advance. In my prophetical revelations, I said the Hakainde's government was more dangerous than Lungusi violence. In many ways, I talked about Hakainde's government to successfully win the election must be fully supported by violence. Today, I want to share with you that vision and that video on my YouTube that I posted on 27 August 2025. It's now almost a year. So that's how God speaks. Unlike these other prophets that come when they are just a few days to the elections, when a few months to the elections after they have analyzed to see Mundubire winning. In this vision, in this video, I would urge you to scroll down to my videos and watch it in full. You are going to discover that I've even mentioned, perhaps the clip that I've cut, I've even mentioned the lawyers that the Makebi Zulu, they'll use the money that they are going to use to adjourn the cases in order for them to be presidents, to use for their presidential campaign. And indeed, it is happening. I also prophesied in this very video, in addition to terror everywhere, I also prophesied the lack of Hakainde Hichilema access to Barry Lungu. I went to an extent to say if in case the South African court, the Mingalato, could succeed to make them lose the case, if they fail to apply for refugee, they must seek asylum from other country. What did I meant in this video, which I actually said? If Hakainde Hichilema would fail to allow me to go in between Lungu and the Lungu's family and himself, you won't bury Lungu. That prophecy has found credible fulfillment. Today, I hear the UPND trying to demonize the non-burial of Edgar Lungu, which is critically prophetical, because I have a letter even which I said they won't bury, and that letter was written to Sata, September 2020, 2012, and I want to say 23 September 2012. That letter is available, and I've shown in these one videos what I said. There is no burial for the president of Zambia, and that the president will continue dying as long as they go to State House without being anointed. I think I'll talk about that perhaps if I can have an opportunity to record tomorrow. I will give that reference to history, which I said a year before these elections. So today, I want to show you what I talked about to say terror everywhere. And I want to say this was prophetical. Before I could show you terror everywhere, I want you to listen to this video that I talked about how Hakainde Hichilema would fail to bury Lungu and how his name became terror everywhere. I just want to give an extra voice. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you. I just want to give an extra voice regarding the issue of the government suing former President Edgar Lungu's family in the fight for the burial of Edgar Lungu in Zambia. I know for sure that good morning, everyone. I want to thank you. I just want to give an extra voice regarding the issue of the government suing former President Edgar Lungu's family in the fight for the burial of Edgar Lungu in Zambia. I know for sure that if Hakainde Hichilema, as the president, was willing to talk to me and allow me to enter in between the family and himself, it will be my opportunity to bring peace between the two. But now, because SDA Church, Hakainde Hichilema himself, as an elder of SDA Church, they feel to engage me, it will be an approval of the call for reformation. So it's do or die. I want to say that my previous vision, or the last vision that I had, that can be the best. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank you. I just want to give an extra voice regarding the issue of the government suing former President Edgar Lungu's family in the fight for the burial of Edgar Lungu in Zambia. I know for sure that if Hakainde Hichilema, as the president, was willing to talk to me and allow me to enter in between the family and himself, it will be my opportunity to bring peace between the two. But now, because SDA Church, Hakainde Hichilema himself, as an elder of SDA Church, they feel to engage me, it will be an approval of the call for reformation. So it's do or die. I want to say that my previous vision, or the last vision that I had, that can be the best word, is that I can say I saw Kabesha being elected to replace Hakainde. He won. That they closed down every prospect who can be a president from the PF. They have to find a case in one way or another to arrest, because there's a prophecy already that I gave in the book that they received, because they know from history whatever I've written,
it has stood the test of time. So regardless of whatsoever, naming of Kasonde Mwenda, they might even know to say, okay, God might raise another person, but sparing another one who might come and rise and take the show. So, if I could say that my coming in to stand, it was not for me to find favors, but I wanted to help to narrow the arguments in the sense that if you are refugees, you have the right to bury here. Because I'm not of the view to say Edgar Lungu must not be buried in Zambia, but I'm of the view that the burial of Edgar Lungu in Zambia, it is a win to Hakainde Hichilema, but a means of persecution to the family of Edgar Lungu. The terror everywhere. Hakainde Hichilema who want to dance to please his praise singers. Whatever they would praise him to do, he will do it mightily. Today, I wrote a petition over Maria Zalomis, who, with his boyfriend, the brother to Siawan, they accused someone that he wanted to pour the acid. Which acid? Because even on that video which they were taking, they were supposed to show us the bottle of acid which he wanted to pour on her. Accusing someone and beating that person to death. And the president, or let me say the government of Zambia, did not arrest those people immediately until we started writing petitions. And I hear that Maria was whisked out of detention during weekend on Sunday, which is not according to the law. There are people who have been arrested. Even me, I was arrested in Zambia. I could not be removed during the weekend. So, but there are special cases. And again, I hear this Siawan brother, the boyfriend, he was removed from the cell to another cell where he can have a fresh air. In other ways, he might have been removed as well privately. He's enjoying home under the pretext of saying is detained. So when the government operates like that, it is actually a sign of terror everywhere. So for me, I've discussed this issue with sadness because Zambia has lost an opportunity to seek their God. I'm simply saying, I don't know. What I know is the family of Lungu, regardless of whatever agreement that you are going to have with the government, I don't see peace. Because that dream told me to say, even after Nulilo, Anton General took one in the place of Hakainde Hichilema. Maybe he won in the case of Hakainde Hichilema in these matters of the court, because he's the one who is playing a major role on behalf of Hakainde Hichilema. Even the Mingalato of paying bribes to the judges, it can never be ruled out, because the justice that I was looking for in this court, it ended up bringing terror in my life. So the justice that you are looking for in these courts, they may end up bringing what? Terror. So the only means that I would advise is for you to seek refuge. because the lawyers that are representing you, they are also after money. The more appeals, the more adjournment, the more rounding from Supreme Court to another court, to another court, to another court. By the end of the day, you are going to remain without money to pay them. They are millions. They will leave those court with enough money to campaign for their positions. If a lawyer would want to resign from being a lawyer to be a president, the capital is on the cases from one court to another. Even the very professional lawyers, the one that you are getting from South Africa here, they also want to build homes. And even the judges, once it's a profile case, you have to be wise enough to make a decision of being a refugee. If South Africa will refuse to have refugee on you, it's better you seek refuge somewhere else, not to allow this case to continue from one court to another court, from one court to another court. It won't give you the justice you need. If you have to take it to another court, yes, perhaps outside South Africa, because I want to say that Hakainde Chilema can use every means to divert justice. I would have loved that I actually made my first appeal to Hakainde Chilema to say, Hakainde Chilema, it is better you stay away from the coffin. Let them bury as I agreed before. But as long as the government of Zambia still insists to want Hakainde Chilema to preside over the funeral, the allegations and the belief that Freemasons, they need to sniff on dead bodies, then for their fame and power, it will still dent your image, Hakainde Chilema. Why fight? You refuse to stay in State House. They have refused to bury in that state burial site. So what is the difference? So my prayer is that peace, love must prevail if you listen to what God says.
I hope you have listened. This prophetical reference is quite precisely. If God can speak that Hakainde Chilema cannot bury Ed Kalungu, and indeed it has not happened. I saw terror everywhere. And when you listen carefully, the one who should win the elections and give Zambia what they expect is someone that has been anointed, because God has spoken to me, starting with Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. All visions has come to pass. Before every prophet started talking about winning the elections, me, I'm not talking about winning the elections. Me, I'm talking about what this democracy brings to us through these presidents. To me, the issue of who is winning the elections, it is attached of what kind of leadership that president that will win brings in. I saw Hakainde Chilema spat 1997, 1999, repeatedly told Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, and I waited to see its fulfillment until 2021. So it is not about winning the election. It's about what does this government brings. So this government, according to my understanding of God's prophecy, it has brought terror. And this terror that I'm witnessing, the massacre of, I don't know whether it's a correct word, massacre, or the brutalizing of General Cannon. Because if I use the term massacre, I may imply someone who has been died, who has been killed. But there are many other people that are dying because of UPND fierce terror or violence. So now, what is it that I'm actually saying? If I watch the way the Livingstone rally from Ndubile was met with violence, the Western Province rally, the way it has been met with violence, just these few incidences that I've just showcased, that I want to showcase here, of the cat and the head of a Tonga man who is General Cannon, perhaps because he supported Mdubile, then it makes a sad reading. And I want us to reflect a bit. If God has warned of violence by Hakainde Chilema, what is God telling us? What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to seek God's face in order to be rescued from this government. But if the Mduvile, as I hear news that they are supported by Donald Trump, perhaps they may find a way through, because Hakainde might not have kept certain agreements with Donald Trump. They can also rig the elections, rigging to rigging. But in the actual sense, Munduvile, looking at numbers that are following him, he has won the election. But those elections that Munduvile has won, for them to be declared as a win, there is violence. People die than ever before. So I want you to look at these videos. Yes, if Zambia is passing through such terrible sights or scenes, of violence, of terror, it is no longer safe to be a politician. And I want to say that according to God's revelation, democracy is a force front of peace. We do not need this kind of democracy. We do not need this kind of democracy which has cyber laws that are biased. My appeal to Hakainde Hichilema is to allow people to choose who they want and remain peacefully as a former president. The use of violence to deter Mundubile of winning his chance to become president will bring vengeance upon you, because you have embraced the Vatican City, you have embraced the Vatican authority. The agreement you made with Pope Francis and Pope Leo is on you. America is on you, and hence they close their ears against the suffering of Zambian people. You spent all the 5 years arresting the opposition in fulfillment of the prophecy that I made. And now you are in the second phase of the prophecy of violence, and people who die because you want to maintain leadership. I want to pray for you, Hakainde, that seek God now and accept defeat. Also, I want to pray for you, Brian Munduvile, to seek God now so that you can get anointed. I've heard of other preachers, prophets that call for your anointment, and I've seen that others have prayed for you. But whatsoever the case, all kings have a lot of prophets that prophesies blindly without having a message, without having the true picture of why Munduvile you must come to presidents. Because I want to say, I've talked also about Kasonde Mwenda, and I actually said sometimes Kasonde Mwenda might not be, but someone else might come in. This first video clip that I gave, it has quite number of prophecies that I've mentioned that have stood the test of time. And you see, just the fact that Hakainde Hichilema, you failed to bury Edgar Changwalungu because you refused to involve me. Today you might not see the need of you to see God's face, and you are using violence as you have used the violence against PF. I'm not against you winning the elections, and I'm not against Brian Mdubile to win the elections. I see the two of you in the same boat because both you have no agenda. All the 6 presidents that have died, they died rejecting to protect God's ministry by accepting the warning. Therefore, I want to see what happens on the 13th August. What I know is that Munduvile, he can win in the elections, but without God, without God's agenda. The difference is the same with HH. Zambia will continue suffering. All the promises Munduvile is making may not be successful because without God, you'll be under hostage. The other possible thing is if God can permit Hakainde Hichilema to rig the elections, then Zambia will still brand itself into more suffering because even in Zambia itself, they must seek the face of God. I reach where God told me to say, I must anoint a president who I actually gave the mentor of leadership to Kasonde Mwenda, who went to another woman to pray for him for anointment. But I want to say the desperation may not help him. But all what I thank him is that he has finally also joined Munduvile. Perhaps he might be a voice to Munduvile to do the agenda of God, uniting Africa under Ibrahim Traoré as the Moses of today, that will save us from this economical slavery, that any president that can take over will still be subjected to seek donor funds to promote homosexuality, to promote Christian nation. That is all against God's word. And it is my prayer that God has revealed another cross-cutting revelation. Kings must be protected by their families. Family marriages will protect presidents from assassinations, from sellouts, from being poisoned, from HIV/AIDS. I want to say that one must ask why Prince Charles was this was actually disowned because he married a woman of his choice outside the palace who is not a family member, and they keep that as a secret to us. Why is Vatican City? Vatican does not choose the Pope every 5 years, but only chooses after his death. Africa must consider that too, because today the countries are in violence mood, terror everywhere. In South Africa, there is xenophobia or Afrophobia. In Zimbabwe, there are also different economical challenges. All the countries in Africa, we have a lot of different challenges that only cook us to be controlled by our colonial masters. It's my prayer to God that the elections of 13th August must give Zambia the best. But which best? These few days that are remaining, I want to receive a call from either Hakainde Chilema or from Munduvile, the one who may need to seek God's agenda. Because to me, it's not Hakaine's problem because he's under siege. And it won't be Nduwile's problem, when he goes into State House without God's agenda, they'll manipulate him and control him. And if he tries to do things by his own power, they'll kill him. So I want to say God's protection lies in the hand of anointment. May God bless you. Amen.